In this video, we're going to talk about absolute value equations again, but in this case, we're going to be very specific in talking about what is called an extraneous solution. So when we have extraneous solutions, we still solve them just like we would any type of absolute value equation. So in a case like this, the way we'd solve it is we would still set it equal to each other, and then on the other side, we would set it equal to its opposite, which means we actually are going to have to change all the signs on the right-hand side. So in the left-hand side, in order to solve this, we need to get the x's together. So we're going to subtract 2x on both sides. We will get 3 equals x plus 2. And to solve for x, we would subtract 2 because we need to isolate the x, and we will get x equals 1. Now over here, in order to solve it, we are going to need to distribute this negative to make it negative 3x and a negative 2. Now whenever we solve here, I need to get the x's together. So I'm going to actually add 3x to both sides, and I will get 5x plus 3 equals a negative 2. Now to solve for x, we would need to subtract 3, and I'll get 5x equals a negative 5. Divide both sides by 5, and I will get x equals negative 1. Now, we need to check to make sure both of these answers actually worked in this case. So I'm going to plug 1 or substitute 1 back into the equation. So when I do that, I'm going to kind of work up here. So I will get 2 times 1 plus 3, and then I want to know if that equals 3 times 1 plus 2. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2 plus 3 is 5. And then 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5, and therefore since the left side equals the right side, we know that this worked. Now we're going to do it with negative 1. Again, we'll have 2 times negative 1 plus 3, and we want to know if that equals 3 times negative 1 plus 2. Okay, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And negative 2 plus 3 is 1. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. The absolute value of 1 is 1. Does 1 equal negative 1? No. So therefore, this is what you would call an extraneous solution. That happens is when you actually get two answers. However, one of them may or may not work. Now, sometimes both of them will work, but there's going to be times to where you might have one of them become an extraneous solution. So therefore, the answer to this problem is only x equals 1. So let's do another one to make sure. Now, in this case, we actually have to be careful. There is a number beside the absolute value. We cannot split until we first get rid of this 5. You do not distribute the 5. That 5 is being multiplied by the absolute value, so we first need to divide both sides by 5. When we do, we will get 3x minus 7, because don't forget, you got to divide both terms by 5. Now that we have an absolute value equation that's by itself, we now can split it. So we can have 6 minus 5x equals 3x minus 7, and then on over here, we'll have 6 minus 5x equals the opposite. So in order to solve this equation, I'm going to add 5x to both sides, leaving me 6 equals 8x minus 7. And then I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and I'll get 8x equals 13. Now I'm going to divide by 8, and I'll get 13 divided by 8. Over here, if I was to solve, I would first distribute and get negative 3x plus 7, because the negative times the negative. Now I need to get the x's together. So I am still going to add 5x to both sides, and I'll get 6 equals 2x plus 7. Now I'm going to solve for x by subtracting 7. I'll get negative 1 equals 2x, so x equals a negative 1/2. Now at this point, do not stop. This is where you need to check to make sure that both answers do work. So in this case, you can do one of two things. You can either keep it as 13 divided by 8, or you can keep it, or you can change it to a decimal, which is 1.625. So I'm going to take the equation 6 minus 5 times 1.625 We want to know if that equals 3 times 1.625 minus 7. So on the left-hand side, we will get 6 minus 8.125. And on this side, we will get 4.875 minus 7. So 6 minus 8.125 gives me a negative 2.125. And the other side will give me a negative 2.125. The absolute value of a negative 2.125 is a positive 2.125. Does that equal a negative 2.125? No, they do not equal. So therefore, x equals 13 over 8 would be considered an extraneous solution. Now we need to check the negative 1/2. So if we plug in 6 minus 5 times a negative 0.5, we want to know if that equals 3 times a negative 0.5 minus 7. So in this case, we'll get 6 minus, that should be a plus 2.5. And over here, we would get a negative 1.5 minus 7. 6 plus 2.5 is 8.5. And negative 1.5 minus 7 is a negative 8.5. The absolute value of 8.5 is 8.5. Does that equal a negative 8.5? No. Again, it's also extraneous. So interesting enough in here, both solutions are actually extraneous. Therefore, your final answer would be no solution.